All right, cyber traders, good morning and welcome on back here this Wednesday, June 9th, shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here, of course, for our morning meeting. Great to see all of our students like Leda and Donald and Norman and Ray and everybody alike, Debbie and Gina as well. Great to see all of our students, all of us on social media as well, Facebook Live, YouTube. Welcome on back. You got me for one more morning. Fausto will be back in the saddle at least come tomorrow, at least, and into Friday. So, for right now, let's start off on CLOV. We ended up going over this trade from yesterday. It was on our morning list. It was on our afternoon list. We were following this all throughout the day, and obviously, as you could see here, exploded up another 24%. So, nonetheless, we'll put this on our list to begin. But to go over the move from yesterday, and when we did go over this really extensively in our Traders Talk workshop from yesterday morning, but we ended up seeing the stock make a huge break. It took a while for it to make its real break over the first major resistance off of 18. So once this ended up truly breaking higher off that 18 level, you would simply just think for such a big volume level like 18, just specifically, that's where we had big sell orders. We ended up seeing them get filled. So, that process we call buying. For all the buying we saw off 18, you'd imagine for a big move to happen shortly after. And this thing was a tough stock off that level. There wasn't really a big iceberg order like at 1825 or 1810. It was just holding well, like lower highs and just pinning well under that 18. And finally, once it cleared those highs and broke over 18 going into the mid-morning, obviously it paid off, but ended up making this huge run where like most of us would have expected some sort of like pullback, some sort of, shake around to see a higher low and build back up more. This thing just kept going to the point where once it broke out over 20, that was it. I mean, that was all she wrote. Popped all the way up towards 25. I'm surprised this thing didn't get halted. I wrote that in the chat board. I said, the way this is going, this should get halted. No. And well, it didn't get halted, but ended up coming right back down shortly afterwards. And man, this thing has been through like the spin cycle. I like to say that, but it's true. Like up and down through the spin cycle. To see a stock go from basically 16 in pre-market all the way to 25 back down to 16. I think it was 1664, the opening bell print. That was our whole kind of like climax of this move, seeing the opening bell print actually hold as the dip point, the bottom going into like 1130 here. But man, this thing has been through hell and back. Ended up going all the way back up, going right back up here this morning towards 28. Failed to break out over 28 so far, or at least cleanly. Most recently ended up just going up to towards that price and shaking back down pretty quick. So nonetheless, hey, CLOV at this point, although it's going to have a tight spread, it's a level 5 stock. So for any of our new students inside Cyber Group, unless if you're just trading a very small position size, just kind of playing around, I would not look to trade this on a normal share count until you're really comfortable following at least a slower moving stock first, right? If you don't know what's going on this trade, I would rather you not risk your money on it. I'd rather you follow something a little bit easier to read. And if you think that's something that maybe some of our students figure to be easy to read, hard to read, then even more so, right? That's where we got to take a step back and just focus on slower moving stocks. Just because it has a tight spread doesn't mean it's going to be slow moving. So there's a difference between that, and we teach that within the classes. So CLOV for right now, definitely gonna be on our watch list. I'd watch out for a false break over 28 after the market opens, and if it breaks over 28, then it wouldn't shock me to make it the false break ultimately off of 30. Kind of like a decade number, like $30. But I would expect this to come back down pretty hard, at least, shortly after the open. All right, so we ended up doing well on this. We did well, of course, on the Wish trade. Wish, I mean, I can't believe this. I mean, hey, we didn't really focus on CLOV as much, although it was on our list, and we did focus on it a bit. But, why focus more on CLOV when we have a stock like Wish here going into 3 o'clock, running up? It was, half as expensive compared to CLOV at the time. And once it broke out over 10, ended up making basically the same type of move, just not as extended compared to what CLOV has done yet. So, this stock ended up making this huge push. It was also shortable. So I was watching this and ended up missing the move at first because I was doing this during, this was moving during the meeting, the 2:30 afternoon meeting that I typically host. It ended up popping and running from there. So I wish I could tell you, hey, I got in right from like 9:50, right from 10. Me personally, I didn't. I know a couple of our traders jumped in off 10 during the meeting, but once this ended up squeezing up towards 11:50, I was wondering. I was like, for as much as the stock moved up steadily, it's got to pull it back, right? I say it all the time to us here in the meetings. If it craps out the other way, it could be a good short opportunity. So I ended up throwing a dart on the wall there. I did it on a smaller share count, but I got a short off from like 1133. It was right off this peak going into the afternoon. I thought I had it. I held on. Well, you don't want to hold on too long because obviously this thing just kept going. So I ended up wasting the profit. I didn't really care about the profit at that point. It was home run or bust really. So once this ended up pushing up higher, I got out obviously and just kept going. Now, I made a comment live inside the trading room really early this morning once I logged in, and it's simply the after hours were incredible. We had really a kind of a special after hours session here because this wish trade obviously kept going, but we're not really too familiar with this stock compared to maybe some of the others that we'll talk about shortly from now. CLVS, Workhorse, obviously CLOV, the AHT trade. I've never really traded this stock before. Mike says it was a gap fill, and it definitely was, and some, right? We ended up seeing this and talking about this gap during the meeting yesterday, but going into the after hours, man, this thing had the same type of liquidity that you're seeing here. A bit of a spread at times, but you're seeing, larger orders and icebergs in particular. And, I ended up taking a chance on this stock in the after hours. I stepped away from my desk going into the market close and my eyes were like burning. I was staring at my computer too long. I took like a nice 30, 45-minute break. It was honestly one of those situations where I came back at the literal perfect time. I can't say that too often, but once this ended up breaking out over 12, I ended up getting in. It was on this bar right here. Exactly right here. It was a 20-minute break, I guess. I come back at 4:20, 4:25 Eastern. And, this was already false popping from 12. You saw buying, so to say at that time. So kind of like what we were talking about on CLOV from 18, when a big volume level gets filled, I'd like to expect a big move up or a big move in general. But, with this popping over 12, I took a chance. And, man, this thing ended up making a nice run. I ended up fortunately getting out on this trade right around, I forgot the exit price. I think it was 13.16. If I'm not mistaken, 13.14, 13.16. Ended up topping off. I think I even got out here, actually. It was before it popped. Yeah, right here at the time. But, man, this thing was a great trade. Ended up dropping back down, obviously, from there. Ended up holding over 12. I actually could have had a chance to get back in, but I wasn't going to try and re-enter. I took my money and just moved on. I ended up just finishing up at that point. I said that was it. But ended up moving right back on up, and here it is today. So, just give me a quick second, but nonetheless, you could see the wish trade dropping back down. It is shortable. So, the part on this trade that I want to talk about right off is 16. We ended up seeing a lot of selling early this morning, even before 8 o'clock off the 16 level. I want to check back in with you folks during the afternoon meeting for all of us on YouTube and Facebook Live, because we'll check back in, obviously, on this trade. We'll see what happened off of 16 in particular. We'll see if that ends up holding as resistance after the market opens, or if it makes a false break over 16 and right back under it. We'll see. But nonetheless, Wish definitely we'll put back on our watch list so far. And I can go through another 3 or 4 I wrote down here in preparation for this meeting this morning. But let's go over one more, then we'll kind of just flip it from top to bottom. I was saying yesterday, I'm like, man, Fausto does this meeting so fast. I got to get better at that. But, the AHT trade, this was the other one I ended up actually trading in the after hours yesterday. I wish I could say I ended up catching it off this pop. I ended up missing it at that point. But going into the after hours, we ended up seeing this stock make a bit of a squeeze. Ended up popping here, right? Going into the close. We were talking about the stock yesterday all across the morning, so it was building a bit of a pennant on the daily chart. Thankfully, after the pullback, ended up holding over support at 5 and then made the slingshot up. That's what led to our run here in the after hours. And, this ended up first making its pop at this point. And once I got out of the CLOV stock, I was just jumping around. So unfortunately, I missed this pop. I missed most of this move up. But the same thing happened here, where this ended up making a nice move up, pulled back down. And for all the buying that we had off of 7, I ended up jumping in here at this point. I got in right over 7, ended up squeezing it up. Not like a huge profit, but I ended up getting out at 7.19, 7.18, if I'm not mistaken. Ended up holding, 7.20 pretty nicely. Ended up moving a little bit more up higher, but obviously right now it's still holding strong. So, the AHT trade, similar to Wish, similar to CLOV, just going to put it on our watch list so far to begin. Stock is also shortable, so if it ends up diving off here somehow, or breaking below 7 and holds back under that price as resistance after the open, then I'd definitely consider that as a good opportunity as a short. All right, so let's go from top to bottom now. I was saying yesterday too, I was juggling so much. So I was actually fortunate when I came back. I felt like a lot more relaxed, like knowing I didn't have the trading room, no coaching, no PowerPoint or any of that stuff here, no meeting. So I had time to like just focus on me, and just gives us a better ability to just focus on the strategy at hand. AEMD, this will be certainly one we'll put on our watch list. Certainly one we'll try and you know focus on our strategy with this trade. Let's just check out the news on this stock. All right, so I can't post it on the social feed here on YouTube, on Facebook Live, unfortunately, but I'll relay. AEMD trading higher, possibly following a Zacks article on Tuesday titled "AEMD First Ever in Vivo Removal of COVID Virus from Bloodstream of an Infected Patient." Whoa, that's an interesting headline. So ended up seeing a huge pop like real early in pre-market. I'll zoom out on the 1 minute, but man, like a huge squeeze up, back down. That's not a good sign typically for the rest of this trade after the market opens. Now, fortunately, with this type of move, the range that this stock made, it definitely gives it more of a range that it could trade after the open. So that's why you're getting the squeeze from 8 to like 1150 back down after the open. I'm not assuming it's going to run all the way back up to the pre-market high. But hey, if it can make $1, $2.50 per share move, then I'll take it. Why can't I take $1 trade out of $1, or why can't I take $1 trade out of like a $2, $3 move? It's not impossible to do that. So, we're not trying to buy at the bottom and sell at the top. Of course, if that happens, then kudos to you. That's the perfect trade, the immaculate trade. But, it's a matter of just getting in from a big volume level, just getting what the stock will give you. The AEMD trade, let's just take a look, because what kind of concerns me, one of these two I knew, well, both actually, but AEMD, I guess moreover AEHL, but 11.89 million share float, stocks trading 29 million shares here so far. So that's where I say be careful. The stock prior to, I guess, like late May, early June was just trading 124,000 shares on average a day. So, you just got to factor that in. Given the pops and drops that this stock had, obviously made a big move this morning, making a move here, and certainly can make a move after the open. But this is also the type of stock that when the volume dies off, this thing will just come right back down here as well. So, history will repeat itself, I'm sure. All right, let's see what else we got. AEHL, not to be confused with AEMD. Unfortunately, for anyone with trader's dyslexia like myself, also not to say it with a stutter, but for anyone with trader's dyslexia, gonna be a tough morning. You got the AEMD trade, you got AEHL, so you don't confuse those. And then later on, we'll talk about OEG and GEO. Kind of inverse tickers there. But AEHL, nice squeeze back up at least prior to 9 o'clock. I guess it's kind of holding around those prices here. So we'll easily put this on our list also. But even lower of a float, right? Like 3.2 million share float, I thought I saw there. So, stock's trading 2.9 million shares currently. Prior to today, it was trading about 500,000 shares just about. All right, so we'll put this on our list. I'd just be careful though, because this didn't even test 6 yet. So I'd wait for a pullback down towards 6, maybe even like a 580-ish here, 590 past resistance from the chart. Then maybe that can make your slingshot. Actually, I'll put a line there too. Right around there. All right, let's see what else we got. CLOV on our list. CKPT. Kind of the same move as the AEMD there. Pump up, dump back down. I'm sure it can make like a 50-cent move, at best, or maybe like a 30 to 50-cent move, maybe up to 4 and a false break over that. I don't mind putting it on our list. I'm sure it's going to have good liquidity as it has now, or even more, and probably more of like a level 2 stock likely after the open. Oh no, we got a couple of our traders inside Cyber Group following up with my trader's dyslexia comment saying you also got GOEV and GOED. That just tripped me up. And GOEV and GEVO. I forgot. Yeah, Norman and Mike. Yeah. Jeez. All right, that'll trip me up. You got CLNE here, CLVS. It's like they're trying to play with my head here this morning. Let's keep it going. CLNE. So this one we're more familiar with, at least. This has been an EV play. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, like a crypto mining type of play too. So ended up making a bit of a slingshot move off of like essentially 1250, then really from there 1280. So for right now, we'll definitely put this on our list also. We're going to have a huge watch list, folks. A lot of tradable stocks here this morning, so don't get too tripped up, following like, 5 to 8 to 10 to 12 stocks. No matter how much I put on this watch list, just try and focus on a couple to begin. That's why, here in the cyber group room, like I'll probably start off on, let's say like a CLOV and a AHT trade, and let's say Mike will start off on AEHL and a Wish. I'm just shooting out stocks, but here in our trading room, we'll work together as a team. And let's say if the two stocks I'm looking at don't make a great move right out the gate, and Mike makes a good call out, I'm going to look at it, right? So that's how we kind of work together here in the cyber group room. Randy says I had a power blip kick me off. Oh no. Hopefully that doesn't happen while you're in a position. It's certainly not after the open, but had a hard time getting back going, but good now. All right, good. Whew. All right, so CLNE, definitely going to put it back on our watch list. I'm just going to kind of skim through this list here pretty quick, folks. I saw a Norman call out CLVS, again, not to be confused with CLOV or CLNE here, but CLVS. Nice pop off of 7. It's yet to come back down to that price really as support. So again, you're going to get a lot of pops and drops after the open. And in this case with CLVS, I'm assuming a drop back down first at least. Lower low here, pushing back up though pretty sharply. So it's making a strong bounce here for the meantime, but it's not going to shock me to see it come back down to 7 at first. All right, so we got OEG and we got GEO, right? So those were the two others I was talking about. Both were like running and popping and literally at the same time here after 8 o'clock. So once I saw them pop up on my Benzinga Pro feed, I was like, geez, what's going on here? Like, are they mixing up different stocks, or like they like messing up, there in the office? Nope, both running at the same time. I don't know. I mean, just to put both on our list, given the pre-market move, I'm not as interested in these right now. I mean, ended up popping, but the volume waned off, as did the stock here, drop back down. It's possible to see them run after the open, especially OEG. I know that specifically news came out on this stock. I could just double check here just to show. I think it was like some sort of contract. Yeah, they ended up winning a $64 million, contract 137-MW project from Fortune 100 energy company. Interesting, right? So it's possible it can make a bit of a move, but for right now, I'm just going to keep it on the side. I just got a ping from Benzinga Pro on the GOEV at least here, one of our tongue twister stocks. This just made a new pop, new high of the day, so definitely going to put this back on our list. Just zoom out on the daily chart here. Oh man, look at this. The daily chart just speaks for itself too. So obviously ended up making a huge gap up and squeezed up after, but off this big pre-market push up, I'm sure this morning, ended up dumping right back down. Obviously lower after, and up and down it went. But even here this morning, don't guarantee yourself it's just going to run all the way up to 15 like Wish did. Not every stock's going to make that pretty of a move. So again, it's always just the rule of thumb. When the volume dies off, it's very likely that the stock at least temporarily will, if not entirely. All right, AHT. Norman says FSR is choppy today. This kind of looks choppy here, but obviously it's still going to be on our watch list. We went over this trade just before. ADMP popped early, and that was it. WPG ended up moving after 8 o'clock. Nice trend up, at least from like essentially 520-ish up towards 585, 580. I'm sure it will have a tight spread after the open as it has now. Just again, we have a lot on our list already. I don't really feel like a specific need to put this on just yet. I was going to put lots on our watch list here, at least really early on, pre-market watch list. But man, this thing ended up diving off. We talked about this yesterday, saying there was a chance it could break lower heading into the afternoon. Obviously, that didn't happen. Ended up basically holding right off where we ended up like going over it yesterday during the afternoon meeting. And then from there, squeezed up, ended up breaking over 680 on a rebreak and flew from there. So, this was another one from yesterday afternoon that made for a nice trade, even extended into the after hours a bit. Obviously, popped more here in pre-market. But, it's on the way down now. I actually like this trade so far, providing at least some volatility here in pre-market and likely to, be the same after the open, dropping off steadily. All right, let's see what else we got here, folks. Any other familiar names on the gainers? And I'll just kind of skim through here pretty fast. Super League Gaming, at least familiar name. I'll check it out. Is it WWE? Up 8%. Interesting. BBIG, familiar name. I think this is an NFT type of play. Just choppy trend here in pre-market, or even lack thereof, but just choppy. I'm sure it could be volatile after the open, so good side list stock. I just skipped over it. Jeez, what happened there? Watt, and then we had one more. Not much going on there. Damn, where was the last one I just had here? My scanner's refreshed. There we go. Workhorse. All right, so Workhorse looks pretty strong, at least, coming off 8:30. It ended up making a nice bounce around 8:30 Eastern time, off of 17. Slingshot a couple of times off that level. Ended up pushing up essentially 50 cents north up to 17.50. Looks interesting enough. I mean, good side list stock typically, but showing a lot of action here so far heading into the open. All right, good. So we got a good list so far. We're not even on the loser side yet. So far we're at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oof, we got 11 stocks already here, folks. Let me just jump through the loser side here pretty fast. When I did my prep going into this meeting, I didn't have a single stock from the losers list that I was like interested in. So ONDS, it's down big, 13% shortable, but don't really feel a need to put it on. The next trade was from yesterday. We ended up, doing pretty well on this stock, well, at least from the morning. I was in this trade, hopping around this trade during the afternoon meeting yesterday. I should say, like, prior to me beginning, I took an 11, 12-cent loss on this, and I was looking to get back in. I was like commenting on it at the time, and I held back. I told you folks I was like commenting live. I said I was going to let you know if I get in. I did not get in. I was being very patient, and thank God I was. This thing ended up making a bit of a move. I thought I missed it. And then it came crumbling back down right below a big level, 570, that I was narrating, and ended up diving off after. So, thank God, I didn't get back in. Thank God I took the 10-cent loss I took, because that could have been a much bigger one if I just was looking elsewhere, like going through the meeting, acting, not to say cocky, but, just jumping through where I should have been much more risk, conscious. Thank God I was there. Next here so far this morning, it's just kind of breaking a bit lower so far towards 490-ish. Not a whole lot going on there. AMC on the losers list, I think. VTNR, familiar name. 39K print, 40K print, 815. That just about does it, folks. I don't think there's really much else that catches my eye from the loser side, at least. I see 1 or 2 pops from Benzinga Pro. So, folks, for all of us in the trading room, all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, as always, let me know if there's anything up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you would want me to look at. SENS not up 5%, but popping up pretty nicely over yesterday's high already, showing a lot of buying up towards 350. So this one I'll kind of add on the back ends here. Hopefully it's not just like a pop and drop and that's it, but looks really healthy so far. All right, going once, going twice. We got to make sure we're prepped up going into the open, folks. I might start this moment. For all of us on social media, thank goodness this is the last day that you got of me. I'm sure that you're ready to get rid of me. You're ready to get Fausto back in his normal groove, which he will be come tomorrow. You'll get me actually back on Monday. He'll be out of the office at least Monday on the 14th. But you got him for Thursday and Friday of this week, and then otherwise we'll get back to our normal groove going into next week, ultimately on Tuesday. All right, so for all of us on social media, if you've yet to like, subscribe, follow us right on our YouTube channel. what are you waiting for? Go right to youtube.com/cybertradingu just to do that. And then otherwise, just make sure to sign up for our trial of our live trading room if you've yet to experience that so far. Go right down to the link on the banner below just to get yourself set up. For all of us there, just give me a quick sec. I'm going to copy and tweet the picks out. I'll be back on the mic myself right around 9:30 Eastern.